Hey everyone, it's a little week late on the review, but this is our official review of the X-Men movie Logan. Now, keep in mind, minor spoilers in. We're not going to spoil a lot of big of the film, but we're going to talk about it today. Now, any other film we're going to try to do, we're going to try to do it via on the phone. Like as soon as we get out of the movie theater, I just got to get us a little selfie stick to hold it up because it does get a little tiring after a while. So last week we went and saw Logan. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get to see an IMAX 3D because it was all the way, on the border of the state. I mean, I'm talking about it was in Phoenix City, Alabama.
About 250 miles away from us.
Yeah. So I'm sorry.
It'd been closer to go to Atlanta, but
Yeah,
Atlanta didn't have it either.
yeah, Atlanta didn't have it either. Now, the only way I'm going to do that, if it's like something I really want to see, like some things anime related, I'll drive that far. Usually anything Naruto related, I'll drive that far. We'll talk about that later. Okay, so first off, Logan is not meant for younger kids in general. It's a rated R movie. So parents, if you're going to go, they like X-Men, they like the Wolverine movies, you need to go see this with them. Well, you have to anyway. It's actually required. All right. Um, it is a little intense. Now, some kids can handle the intensity, but it's no different than if they play, certain video games. But what I mean by the fact is the intensity, it is a very emotional movie. Okay, it is not something that is just okay. It's wham bam kill kill. No, it's a very story driven movie, which is compared to some movies. Hmm, I mean, it's not just about Logan. It's all It's about Xavier. It's about this new person that's come in. Her name is Lori, and everything that happens to them. So the overall story is that the film is good from beginning to end. Okay. Now I'm gonna give you guys a quick history about it. Of course, you guys know this is the ninth X-Men film. Okay. Now, timeline wise, this is supposed to happen after Age of Apocalypse. My personal opinion is I think this happens after Days of Future Past. Now, what I mean by that is, if you guys have seen the trailers, it says no more mutants, no more X-Men. I think this happens after Days of Future Past, to where the only people that even know that Logan in Days of Future Past woke up and everything, I think an alternate reality was created, and this is the alternate
Yes,
reality Logan.
yes.
This is the one. This is so basically is the one that was fighting in Days of Future Past. It kind of split, if that makes sense. I know it's a little confusing if you don't know multidimensional theory, theoretical physics about that. It can get really confusing. But basically,
Second movie, Back to the Future.
right, bingo. But the story is loosely based off the idea is off the comic book series from the last decade, the beginning of 2000s, called Old Man Logan, which is Logan years later having a family. Of course, he's fighting against Hulk's grandkids. Uh, that's what the story, the idea of the premise is. This is an older Logan. He's, not as fit as he used to be. Mostly, in my opinion, it was psychological. Anything you want to add so far?
No, you're right. He's psychologically tired. He's physically tired. Um, he just wants to go someplace and rest or hibernate or whatever.
Right. What I felt like in the movie was he's beat down, he's wore down. This is not the fighting Wolverine Logan that we know. He just wants to give up. Now, for me, this is true to the character in some aspects. That at certain points in the comic books, he has gotten like that because he's lived so long. He's lived past people he's really cared about. I mean, he was around during the Civil War. He was like, what, 20 or 30 during the Civil War,
Yes.
and then he kept fighting and fighting and fighting, not to mention being used. Now, the only aspect is that even though he did get like this in the comics, that he would eventually always get out of the rut. Um, but I know they were going with a different aspect because this was Hugh Jackman said this is putting on the claws one last time. I will say that the fight scenes in it were very well choreographed, very much like a Berserker Wolverine, not so much his honed warrior sense and everything. This is Wolverine. He's tired, he's grumpy, he's just going to slash and cut whoever's in front of him.
Like a Wolverine would do.
Right. The aspect of bringing in the girl, as you guys have not known, she has two claws. So her code name is X-23, which is from the comic books. It is X-23. That is a spoiler, all right? If you didn't know that, well, you guys some of y'all should already knew that, there is a relationship between her and Logan, which I'm not going to say. She does bring a dynamic aspect because Logan's like, oh crap, kids. I hate kids, or in a sense. Like, he doesn't want her around, and that's one of the aspects that he has to take her from point A to point B, and it's what happens in between is really big, really big.
He's tired of a lot of the responsibilities being thrown on him. Not that he doesn't like people. He would just like to take a day off, but it seems in his mind that there is never a day off. He's always a day behind.
Right. Now, this is supposed to be set in the future. Um, you see some future aspects, but then again, you don't. Now, this was mostly supposed to be shot around in Texas, around close to the border. Now, this is not saying that those areas are low income areas at all, but um, in certain areas, as technology progresses, some areas won't have that technology as predominant. You see a lot of your newer technology would be in like your bigger cities, not in your rural areas. I mean, there's still people who, they have internet, but you don't know if it's an advanced city or not. Even if it was some kind of big hotel, I mean, you don't see a lot of the big
They don't
technology.
necessarily embrace it. A lot of it has to do with the amount of money
Right,
that is put into the area.
right. So you kind of see the area. It's very much like
But rural.
it's a rural area. It is futuristic, but again, it isn't, because you got to think the most technology that comes out, everybody, is coming. It's going to be all right. It's going to be given to the government and the militaries first. It doesn't matter what country you're in. The military and the governments get all the technology first. We get it 20 to 30 years later, everybody.
Last.
We get it last, unless it's some kind of medical thing. Then then you got to be like really, really rich or lucky to be able to have it.
Yes.
All right, and that's not meant as a political statement or anything. Okay, we don't talk about any politics here on our page. Okay, now continuing on, the one aspect that is really really good in the film is the banter between Wolverine, Logan, and Laurie is really good because it's like
Two peas in the same pod.
they act alike. She's an angry little kid. He's an angry adult. It's just funny because I mean they're pretty much like yeah, yeah. But the
Like parents and kids.
right, the biggest what I find funny is the banter between Xavier and Logan. Now Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart have become real good friends since they started doing the X-Men films back 17 years ago. That's a long time to work with somebody, and Patrick Stewart is a card anyway. So the banter between them, and excuse my nose is itching. The banter between them is really really fun because it kind of makes you wonder: was that just added in on the top of their heads? Because they're both theater actors. They've both been on Broadway.
Well, not only that too, but Patrick Stewart he
Shakespeare,
got his start as a Shakespearean theater actor,
right?
and his Shakespearean comes out if you know anything about Shakespeare in the part, and it's really good.
I will say, I'll the ending to Logan is really good. It's a good send off for the films. I personally would have ended it differently, which I'll actually explain that in a video in a couple of months. I don't want to do it now since Logan is still
And it would be a
fresh,
spoiler.
and it will be kind of a major spoiler. But I thought the ending was good.
It
It
is a setup though.
it
Just
is
depends on what they do with it.
what they do with it. Now, as for the budget for it, which I did find out, most of the films have over $100 million, close to $200 million. budget. Okay, now Logan actually did not, because it went for an R rating. Hugh Jackman fought for the R rating. Because of this, Fox Studios only gave them $80 million, and as far as I know, last time I checked, the movie is doing really, really well in theaters now. Because of this, it kind of makes you wonder, all that extra money is not helping out as much as we're giving $80 million, and you're pulling out a good product, a good movie. There is some good special effects involved in it, but there's a lot more practical effects, which to me makes the film look more realistic. As somebody who I love special effects, I do, but there's a right way and the wrong way to do it.
The actors actually have to act. They can't rely on special effects to do the acting for them.
Right. Now, other films like Guardians of the Galaxy, which relies heavy on special effects due to the fact of the scenery, it's pulled off very well. Whereas something like Logan, if I start seeing a CGI, Logan, I think I'd have been really upset. Um, but like I said, this was, it's called Logan, so it's the final movie.
It's more character driven.
Um, it's the first time I said that I realized. Hugh Jackman did say that this will be the final time him to play as Logan or the Wolverine. There's a but though. He has sit there and said the only way he would put the claws back on everybody is if Marvel Studios and Disney got a hold of the rights to the X-Men franchise and everything involved with it. Okay, that's including Fantastic Four, which would bring the Skrulls to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which are really big enemies of the Kree, which were from Guardians of the Galaxy. It would also bring the Shi'ar Empire, which is really, really big for the X-Men. And if you guys know X-Men, the animated series, which premiered on Fox Kids back, over 25 years ago.
Yes.
I'm really showing my age now. I remember waking up on Saturday mornings. The Shi'ar Empire was involved with the Phoenix. Okay, but if they get a hold of it, Hugh Jackman has said he will come back because he likes what happens between Hulk and Wolverine. They're always at odds. And believe it or not, Wolverine, he talks with Deadpool, and from what I heard, Ryan Reynolds is like big on trying to, like he's pushing back and forth to get put on it, as well as Spider-Man. Wolverine and Spider-Man have a good banter. Uh, he pretty much that's like I'm gonna beat the crap out of you. You're my little brother type of attitude. Um, but this was a very good movie. I suggest everyone to go see it while it's still in theaters. If you're young age and you can't handle a lot of real intense violence, I do not suggest you see this right now, unless you got the parents. You need to watch it with them. If this is not your film, and a parent that's into the X-Men, or like one of the friends and everything, or like their uncle, or or grandfather or something, find somebody you trust to go with them so they can see it. But I'm gonna tell you, it is intense. Now, if I was 8 or 9 or 10, I know I could go see because
Right.
because he
There's a personal intensity on the storyline, is what makes it so. Uh, One of the reasons why they rated it R. It's more psychological than it is actually violence and blood.
there is some blood. There is some very gruesome ways to die in it. I mean, they don't show like blood splattering. I mean, just where the claws go. Sometimes it's very much like ooh, that's just. But
It hurts to even look at it.
yeah, okay. I give the personally, I give the film a 9 out of 10.
I would give it 8.5 to a 9.
And now, the reason why I don't give it a 10 is because of the ending. That's just me. But the overall execution of the film was very well done. The cinematography was good. Uh, just the just the reaction between the characters, it felt very realistic. It wasn't just a bang bang shoot 'em up. I mean, there was very much like a relationship. It really made you believe that the characters were real. Now I have to say the bad guy in there, he's a jerk. But he did a good job.
Well, most actors will say the most fun part to play is the bad guy.
All right. So, like I said, I give it 9 out of 10. He gives it like eight
Eight and a
and a
half.
half. Eight. He gives an 8.5 out of 10. We're gonna score it out of 10, everybody. Um, so our next film we're gonna go see is, which he didn't want to see it at first. We're gonna go see Power Rangers. All right.
Looks like that's going to be just a fun ride.
And guys, I grew up watching Power Rangers. I got into Super Sentai a couple years ago, which I like both. New Power Ranger stuff I'm kind of on, but I was in third grade when Power Rangers came out, so and it does look good. It looks like a good fun ride type of. So we will do a review on Power Rangers. The next one after that will be Ghost in the Shell, and then I think the next movie
Guardians?
yeah, May 5th.
Yeah, they fit the Guardians.
Right before Free Comic Book Day. The night before Free Comic Book Day.
Wow,
Yeah, that's gonna be a busy weekend.
it's going to be busy.
That's gonna be busy.
I'm looking forward to Guardians for the first night. I sat there just died laughing the whole time.
So yeah,
It's a hoot.
we'll have a review of Power Rangers. We'll sit in the car and we'll do it. I'll have a selfie stick by then, everybody. So it won't have the bright light. I'm sorry, everybody. I had to put some keep the light from coming
Blinds.
in. Blinds, quilts up. I have a light right here, and it's just like really like hitting me right here. So that's why my face looks very pale right now. Um, Remember, everybody, that follow us on Facebook, Strong Path Productions. You can, all right, if you're watching it through the Facebook link, this is our Strong Path Entertainment page. Please like the video. Subscribe to our channel. Hit that little bell icon so you know when we have new stuff come on. And like our sister page, Strong Path Productions, which has all of our films on it. This is all of our vlogs, movie reviews, video game reviews, banter in general. Okay, so we will have another episode later, which will be our aspects for Power Rangers. That's our next little our preview, and then we'll have a review of it. Okay, so until then, everybody, have a good day.